This, my friends, is the ultimate mustache guide for trimming, growing, enhancing, maintaining, planning, emphasizing, and styling. Highlighting my favorite tips, tricks, hacks, and strategies to achieve your mustaches.
Maximum power level.
Also, a lot of the tips in this video will apply to enhancing and improving your beard as well. There's a lot of carryover areas. I'll try to answer every single question from what if my mustache is weak and patchy and, kind of out of proportion with the beard, or maybe you're going for a solo stash. I'll cover all of that, all the way to a question like my mustache is too epic. What do? I'm suffering from success. Help. Well, listen up, handsome. I can help you out on all of those fronts. Here's all the sections to this video. Let's get right to it. So when it comes to genetic features that were once thought to be completely unchangeable, modern science just always finds a way to come out of nowhere and give us the slap of destiny to the face and tell us there actually is some hope when it comes to mustache and beard developments if you haven't met your dream aesthetic. Whether it just be filling out some of your patches, ascending the size, trying to balance out your mustache to beard ratio, achieving like an average cop stash. Maybe you have more of a dirt stash with little white vellus hairs. Or, some people might even be trying to achieve something that I'm rocking right now. That's not always the most achievable thing in the world, but it's not out of the realm of possibility for everybody. We'll get more into specific biohacking methods that you can use as an individual to milk your dormant genetics in section 2 of this video. But in this section of the video, we're going to go over some caveats real quick. And that is to say that there are countless methods to improve your mustache coverage and aesthetics, as well as beard aesthetics and coverage. But that is to say that you will ultimately be limited by a genetic ceiling that in most cases will go up with age. In other words, I'm currently 26 years old. I know this is when you write a comment down below. I thought this guy was a fossil. Anyway, right now in my mid-20s, regardless of my very strong mustache lineage on both sides of my family, I often do have to reel myself back before I start fawning over someone like Eric Banholtz, who I would argue has nearly double the mustache fullness that I do. Maybe not double, maybe that's an over-exaggeration, but sometimes it's what it seems like. He's got a lot of fullness. But, I see a reality by the age of 40. My genetic ceiling may actually raise to that level. Logically speaking, I think that's a realistic expectation for the most part. And the mechanism of action for this whole phenomena, for those of you that are curious, is that aging increases your 5A reductase enzyme, and by extension increases your DHT pool and your DHT availability, and DHT being the main sex hormone that is responsible for our beard and mustache growth. So around the age of 25 is really when you start to see the beginning of the activation of potential for a nice long full mustache. Rarely do you ever see somebody under the age of 25 with that. And especially if you have strong facial hair genetics in your family, you can see an absolutely catalytic explosion in mustache and beard potential moving into your 30s and your mid-30s. And I mean, some people just don't stop. Some people well into their 50s and 60s and 70s, it just gets bigger and more luscious, and they got that Santa look, and whoo. So in other words, if you follow every weak mustache biohack that I list off in section 2 for approximately 2 years or so, paired with the styling tips and trimming tips that are coming off in section 3 and beyond, and you've still observed subpar enhancements, factor in your age as well. Age and patience will be your best friend in all of this, but I would argue that most people would see at least a 20 to 50 or way more percent improvements within a year or less. Like seriously, that's how far the science has come with all of this. But regardless, don't be super overzealous. The science is amazing and it's doing amazing things for lots of people, but we cannot yet do genetic splicing. At least it's not available to the public to actively break genetic barriers that is inherent to us. That's currently does not exist. So it would be wise for you to adjust your expectations to your baseline natural development, the development that you're starting to see, month by month as you age. And also, look for examples in your uncle and your dad and your grandfather. If they have anything resembling facial hair, then use that as an example to shoot for. And look on both sides of your family, because unlike androgen sensitivity, which that you inherit from the mother side of your family, you do actually inherit mustache and beard genetics for both sides of your family. But if there's not a single strong beard or mustache in your family, then section 2 will help you out. So if you're already quite happy with your mustache developments, fullness and size and coverage, as well as the beard, feel free to skip this section entirely, but there are some great health tips, so stick around if you're interested for that. For the rest of you, I'll start with the least aggressive methods for mustache and beard enhancement first, and then we're going to get more and more aggressive, the last resort options, in my opinion. And the efficacious nature of these treatments obviously increase the more aggressive you get. But of course, the health implications also get more dire the more aggressive you go. So you should absolutely be consulting a dermatologist or your doctor, because I am neither. Also, a quick note, in a perfect world, every single one of you would incorporate a lot of the less aggressive methods for mustache and beard enhancement, because I think a lot of them have amazing health benefits. But I totally understand financial constraints, so that's why we're doing a tier list. So yeah, I'm going to make a little mini tier list here so you can kind of weigh your options and, budget it out and make an informed decision as to what you want to do in this regard. And obviously, every single product that's going to be mentioned throughout this entire video will be in the description. So as you can see here, there's a variety of vitamins and supplements and topicals that I'm going to be dragging into this graph, S tier obviously being the best, the most efficacious for beard and mustache enhancements. So as promised, some of the less aggressive methods first. So I'm right away going to drag vitamin D, magnesium, and biotin into the C tier, and then collagen into the D tier. Now, not to say that any of these are not useful in any way. All of them are great in a sense, because they all interact directly either with the testosterone system of the body or the integumentary system, the skin system. Biotin can increase the speed at which your hair grows, and it could certainly increase the health of your hair. Vitamin D, obviously, everyone should be taking vitamin D anyway. A lot of these vitamins you should just be taking. I think collagen, I wouldn't even bother with collagen. The reason why I put it here is because a lot of people have speculated that it might be helpful, but actually there's a few methods to promote collagen production that is not through an ingested method that is far more effective. So now for the B tier, I gotta put creatine in there. Okay, so creatine is primarily used as a resistance training aid, but it can also act as a lot of different things. It can act as a nootropic, it can act as a post-head trauma recovery tool, a potential stress management supplement. It has many benefits and flexibilities. So it facilitates the recycling of adenosine triphosphate, ATP, primarily in the muscle and brain tissue, and it has proven time and time again to be the most efficacious supplement for an active lifestyle with very little drawbacks. There's a lot of side effect narratives that goes around about creatine monohydrate, and it seems like time and time again, the science for the safety profile of creatine monohydrate comes up on top. Obviously, as with everything in this tier list, please consult your doctor first, but ATP is the main carrier of energy that's used for pretty much every single cellular activity within the body. And, it does not have a direct or causative interaction with this tier list intention per se. However, I would highly recommend it, because anything as much as 5 milligrams of creatine monohydrate per day can improve power output during resistance training and the recovery thereafter. And a consistent resistance training regimen is one of the best things to boost your overall testosterone levels over a long period, and your body does convert 10% of your testosterone to DHT every single day. A caveat to all of this, of course, is if you don't at all have a consistent training regimen, let's say 3 to 5 times a week, then creatine monohydrate would probably be closer to F tier. Like we're talking pretty much ineffective in pretty much every way, because just training occasionally, it's been noted in the literature that momentary spikes in testosterone do pretty much nothing physiologically. It occurs and then it dissipates. What you actually want is a prolonged increase in testosterone over a long period through an active lifestyle. And if you're not doing that, then I highly recommend it. If you're not, don't bother with the creatine. So now let's put two things in the A tier here. So first of all, peppermint oil, top of the A tier, omega-3s just underneath it, but also very, very good. Okay, let's start with peppermint oil. It's definitely A tier. Recent years, many pieces of data have shown a very substantial increase in hair growth speed and thickness, and it's considered to be a vasodilator and can help improve blood flow to follicles, and that's precisely what you want. In head hair and regrowth trials, it's actually in some cases had better results than minoxidil, which is crazy. The main downside is you have to do a bit of work to dilute it, because it can sting your eyes and orifices quite a bit in its raw form. So it's best to dilute it with a carrier oil like jojoba or castor oil, which of both you could buy in like huge giant gallon plus jugs for pretty cheap. And all you have to do is buy like a singular 1 fluid ounce beard oil bottle with a dropper and fill it almost entirely with the carrier oil, and then put something like 10 to 15 to maybe even 20 drops of peppermint oil in there, depending on how much of a masochist you are. And you can also do this with a small funnel. You know, you can either that, or you can just use the dropper. You know, put the carrier oil in a little cup. You know, and kind of funnel it in. It'll take longer, but that's only if you're too lazy to buy a funnel. Find one that's small enough that can fit inside of a beard oil bottle there. Really, all you need is like a 30 milliliter bottle of peppermint oil, and that will go forever. So you don't need to buy a jug of peppermint oil or anything. That's going to be overkill. And now let's talk about omega-3s. So omega-3s are absolutely amazing. They provide protein and nutrients to the skin. They can prevent follicular inflammation. They can promote blood circulation to the face and scalp, which is, again, what's exactly what you want. Not as well as peppermint oil, but comparable. It's kind of a good support supplement. It doesn't really work on its own, but it's great. So it is overall health promoting in a lot of ways. Joint health, a myriad of things. It's highly recommended that you aim for a daily EPA dose of approximately 1,000 milligrams. So a lot of brands will underdose deep EPA and DHA. Those are the two that you want. A lot of the other stuff is pretty much filler most of the time, especially EPA is highly beneficial. And the way that I hit 1,000 milligrams of EPA per day is I just buy the Now brand of omega-3s here, and each one has 500 milligrams of EPA, and so you just have to take 2 a day and you're golden. So I'll link that down below. All right, rejoice, we have finally hit the S tier. And what's going in here? Drum roll, topical 5% minoxidil, and derma rolling / micro needling. Okay, so first off, minoxidil is not approved for usage on the face by the FDA. The FDA has only approved this drug for usage on the vertex of the scalp and nothing more. It carries potentially severe side effects if used incorrectly, and it is only to be used as a last resort. My opinion on minoxidil is my own as an independent video creator and does not reflect the stance of the Aberlite company. Please use caution and consult your physician, please. And in fact, here I will actually not talk that much about the nuances of minoxidil. But what I will say is that it is a very powerful vasodilator, and it is by far the strongest thing on this entire list. I will not go too more into it because there's a lot of nuances, and I'm going to immediately refer you to another resource that will give you a very in-depth look into what minoxidil is, what it does, and whether you should take it or whether you should not take it. And it's an amazing resource. It's the best video ever made on the subject. It is by Adam from The Beard Solution, and the link should be appearing above me right now. So the other S tier item here is derma rolling and micro needling. And this absolutely deserves to be up here, as it's the absolute best way to promote collagen and elastin production. So much better than collagen pills by a long shot. Essentially what it is, it's a small little roller with a bunch of tiny little needles on it. And it's very painful. It can be very painful, but what it does, it creates multiple micro punctures on your face. And what it could do is not only does it reduce acne scars, thicken your skin, and improve the quality of your skin, help to remove wrinkles, but it also can help with product absorption. So using it in conjunction with peppermint oil and then also maybe minoxidil, if you've watched the resource that I just sent you and you've weighed that decision properly, then you can get increased results and you can mitigate collagen damage. There'll be a link to a really good Healthline article down below, and also Adam from the Beard Solutions video goes into derma rolling as well. All right, so we're on to the third section of this video. This section of the video will aim to explain how mustache growing works, how the proposed weak mustache fixes from the last section work, and why certain people's mustaches and beards look the way they do. To start things off, let's use my mustache as a case study, shall we? From one end to the other, my mustache is approximately 17 centimeters or 6.69 inches. Nice. Hypothetically, if I did not trim the very edges, which I tend to, it might be a bit longer, but not by much. The middle section of my mustache, when pulled down, reaches approximately 6 centimeters or 2.36 inches. This portion could certainly grow quite a bit longer, but I often decide to trim it in kind of a V section in there for quality of life purposes, like the ability to eat soup and the ability to kiss my wife. Overall, what you see represented on the whole, though, is more or less 2 years of consistent growth. But the fact of the matter is, if I shave this all off, within 6 to 8 months, it would come back to just about what it is now. It might be a bit shorter on the ends, but that's pretty much it. So in other words, it stops growing. Or doesn't. Now, I haven't earned the right to use the Vsauce music yet, but this indeed is a myth. So on the scalp, this phase, the anagen phase, also known as the growing phase, typically lasts between 2 to 7 years. And those with amazing beard and mustache genetics can see actually comparable durations of anagen growth. However, those with beards and mustaches that are mainly comprised of light, fleecy, vellus hairs, or even younger adults with fully terminal coverage may observe significantly shorter growth periods. For example, the anagen growth phase that my mustache experiences is likely quite a bit different in speed and duration when compared to this Giga Chad from the Copper John's Beard YouTube channel. Like, holy moly, that's just not attainable for me in the slightest at my age, or even ever, probably. You know, this absolute unit of a man has been slurping that Captain America super mustache serum right there, and I would be his sidekick, relatively large mustache boy. So what creates this discrepancy in power level? Let's dive deeper. So when a head hair, a mustache hair, or a beard hair leaves the anagen growth phase, the hair detaches from the root or the papilla, entering the catagen phase or the transition phase, and no longer receives any sort of nutrients or blood flow, just resting, mostly detached and keratinized in the telogen phase for up to 3 months or so. And then eventually it gets pushed out during the exogen phase by a new hair that's been growing there all along since the anagen phase first ended. So why does the anagen phase go on for so long in some people, and why does it get stunted in others? So we know for a fact that there's a couple of correlative factors such as age, overall DHT levels, DHT sensitivity, 5A reductase enzyme levels, total testosterone counts, and a cocktail of other male sex hormones that are partly responsible. However, as far as the literature is concerned, the causative catalyst for why hairs determine the life cycle of the anagen phase when they do is actually technically unknown. Doesn't seem to be any observable mechanism or genetic slash hormonal marker that is observable through any kind of test that gives us like a conclusive answer. A couple of pieces of literature just note this as an unknown signal that stops the anagen phase and initiates the catagen phase. This is at least my understanding after several hours of research. And if you're a hair professional, a scientist, or a smart cookie, feel free to drop a comment below and we'll have a discussion there. But thankfully, apart from this mechanistic mystery, we know that prolonged and consistent usage of a topical vasodilator for up to 2 years or less, such as minoxidil or peppermint oil, can, in most cases, by creating a long period of increased blood flow and nutrient availability, can permanently increase the potential maximum length of hairs in the beard and mustache. And you know, genetics will still fight you in this whole exchange. That will always be the case. But for the vast majority of you that want to fill patches, balance the mustache to the beard, or increase overall thickness, this is very good news. On the whole, for this section, the length that your mustache will grow to naturally is pretty much impossible to know until you do it. The important thing is, don't compare yourself to me. And definitely don't compare yourself to Captain Gigantomachia Stash Lord over there from the Copper John's Beard YouTube channel, that's for sure. So the actual practical growing of a mustache is a lot simpler than growing a beard, for example. There are so many more dimensions, considerations, and nuances with beards and angles, but mustaches are usually a lot more manageable due to there being less dimensions. However, that's not to say that that frustrations don't come up. And trimming, styling, and moisturizing will ultimately be the thing that keeps your hair out of your mouth, reduces split ends, and makes the overall appearance professional and appealing as opposed to like dry, tattered, and unkempt. And ultimately, the growing periods, trimming frequency, and products required will change based on the style you're aiming for, and you'll eventually find what works for you. But I'll give you some general tips and frameworks here. First off, styling. You've probably heard this to death, but whether you're doing a solo stash, a stash beard combo, or whatever, you absolutely need to be using beard oil. The hairs of your mustache can be especially brittle, and you'll have to provide adequate moisture to support, some healthy growth and to avoid split ends, fraying, and the general dry appearance. So here's a list of my favorite beard oils, and then I'll suggest some budget ones because my preferences are a little premium sometimes. So this one is an absolute classic. This is the Holy Grail beard oil from Kingsman. It's an amazing oud scent, probably the most popular beard oil in the entire industry. Very good for softness as well. Your beard feels really nice when you use it. This one here is by Sphinx, and it is called Vanille Smoke. Absolutely heavenly. It's got this creamy vanilla, yet it's a bit cologne-y at the same time. Seriously, it blew my mind the first time I used it. My wife loves it. The smell is quite strong though, so just be, I'm going to warn you, you're going to smell it all day long. So if you have a sensitive nose or a sensitive stomach, this one might not be for you. And this one here is Moroccan Spice and Citrus by Bardin. It's got a nice subdued kick of orange, a hint of saffron. Beautiful, very relaxing smell with a hint of spice. Whew. And here's the start of the budget ones here. We have Lumberjack's Wisdom from Renewed Man. Very good price point. It's pretty much all just carrier oils and essential oils, no additive colognes or, scent notes or anything like that. Very natural, so they have a really low price point. And then the other one, which I don't have currently on me, is Bulldog beard oil. And depending on where you buy it, this stuff is like basically free. It's like basically drugstore beard oil. And I think it has a pretty decent, refreshing, and lemony scent. The downside is that a lot of people don't like it. A lot of people describe it as like smelling medicine, but I don't mind it personally. strike me down from the sky. So you've picked a beard oil. Next important thing would be getting your hands on a blow dryer and a round brush for your early morning stylings, because that's when you're going to really be able to shape your mustache, and that's going to set the precedent for the rest of the day. You could hypothetically just leave your stash and beard alone after the shower if you're just rocking a very short style on both or one or the other, but if you have any amount of length on either, and you have the aspiration to appear professional and well-groomed, I would say these two things are pretty essential for the most part, and getting a nice styling routine dialed in first thing in the morning is quite important. And this is the order of your styling routine. So get out of the shower. Towel dry your mustache so most of the moisture is gone. Apply that beard oil. And if you want a swoop out effect and you have enough size to do that, comb the mustache to the sides while using the blow dryer on high speed heat, hovering behind the round brush, and do this kind of on both sides. And if you don't want a swoop effect and you prefer like the more standard cup stash, just kind of blow dry the beard down while combing down. And some additional tips here: if you're having a bunch of stray hairs or your mustache just isn't listening to you, you're not getting, some of the hairs aren't getting straight enough, they're curling up at the ends, they're doing annoying stuff, this is a really, really good routine. So with the blow dryer guiding the motion, bring the entire mustache to the left, then to the right, and then down, and repeat this as many times as you need to mold it into the position that you want. And if that doesn't fix your problem, or if you just want a more streamlined, sleek, straight, and polished appearance for like a job interview, a wedding, or a special occasion, you can actually use a heated brush like this one to completely iron out your problem areas. And oftentimes, the pure ironing power of something like a heated brush will oftentimes get rid of a lot of your problem areas. And there's pretty well no difference in how you maneuver the heated brush in contrast to the round brush, but try not to do this every day and try not to put it on the max temperature. You can even use like an argan oil spray to mitigate damage before you iron it out, because argan oil has a very high burning point, so it provides a lot of protection. For heated brushes, we usually use the Aberlite Pro around here. It's very, very good, but we also like to spread the love to different companies. We love to spread the love to different channels. So the Kushal Bar heated brush is also incredible. And I've heard some amazing things about Tame the Wild's beard straightener, although I haven't tried it, but I want to someday. And finally, the final step of your mustache grooming routine in the morning is use mustache wax if necessary. Mustache wax is just amazing. It gives your mustache a nice pop, but also it does an incredible job at keeping hair out of your mouth, emphasizing your swoop, and emphasizing the cohesion through the middle and all the way to the tips. Just adds it just ties everything together. One of my go-to waxes is Proraso mustache wax. Now, it has incredible hold, it's got a very decent price point, and it smells quite nice. The downside is, if you don't melt it enough between your fingers, it can turn your mustache a bit white. It's got a very white appearance, and also it doesn't really have that many moisturizing qualities. It's not that type of mustache wax. It almost takes more of a form of almost like a pomade, and if you want a more like pure mustache wax that has moisturizing qualities as well, another great one is Royal Beardsman's Firm Hold mustache wax, and it has an even better price point, and it has way more natural ingredients. So when using mustache wax, knead it between your fingers and apply it throughout the mustache, working it especially underneath the medial section for an extra lift, and also towards the tips for a very impressive appearance. It might also be a good idea for you to cold shot the mustache with your blow dryer if you have a cold setting on your blow dryer after applying the mustache wax. And you can use your hands while you're cold shotting to really, really just form it into the exact shape that you want and get some really nice uniform stylings. So let's get into some advanced styling tips. And there really is no limit to this realm. The men of the competitive beard and mustache realm and world have discovered it all when it comes to solidifying stylings and contorting mustaches into all kinds of shapes. This is definitely not a daily thing, but if you want to really lock your mustache in place for like a humid day, for example, or a special occasion, consider using like a couple of spritzes of number 5 hairspray. This is just, some advanced stuff that most people would never have to do. But, for those of you that are like really, really suffering from success and have too much hair to deal with, and another very efficacious locking method would be sea salt spray. This would not be preferably a daily thing, quite like hairspray, as the salt tends to have a drying out effect. It does work impeccably well, and you use it pretty much the same way that you would the hairspray. There's pretty much no difference. And for those of you that are really, really, really suffering from success in the mustache department and have a really unruly stash going on, there's a brand called Death Grip Mustache Wax. If for whatever reason you need that level of hold, that option is available. The stuff is so strong that you have to melt it with a blow dryer in the tin and then apply it very, very moderately, scrape it out with a pick. It's basically glue, but it's very effective. There's also a variety of ways to add more volume to your mustache while styling. You can use a smaller round brush and do all kinds of crazy maneuvers, such as rolling up sections like this and using the low speed, high heat settings on your blow dryer to emphasize sections. You can also roll up the ends of your stash from like a top position and continue with a down and out motion while blow drying to create like a perfect curl at the end of your mustache. Additionally, you can style the ends of your mustache back and towards your face while guiding with a blow dryer. As a result, the mustache will kind of like snap back and potentially appear wider, and it gives it a very cool effect. It may also be a very good idea to purchase a little mini mustache comb to bring around with you. That way you could do kind of minor adjustments throughout the day. This could be an absolute lifesaver, especially like in corporate environments, before a meeting with an important executive or something. This mustache comb from the Curl Shop is definitely one of my favorites. It folds up so the teeth, don't get ruined in transit. And I mean, it looks like a switchblade, so it's kind of super menacing. There's no actual benefit of that last part. I just think it's funny, It also has a little clip, I guess, so you could clip it to the inside of your pocket. I've certainly never done that, but that's an option. However, if you've really cemented your mustache in place, by the way, with like a hairspray or a sea salt spray or Death Grip mustache wax, if you try to use a mustache comb throughout the day, it's just kind of it's gonna get stuck. So there's no point of doing that. So don't bother if you've done any of those methods, just so you know. Now let's move on to some trimming fundamentals. Mustache trimming is by no means a science, but it is pretty easy to over trim and accidentally take away too much size. And in terms of trimming tools, all you're really going to need is a mustache comb, like I mentioned earlier, and some mustache scissors. You can grab these scissors right here from the Aberlite store, but I tend to use these Tweezerman ones right here. They're really, really solid, really, really well built. Usually most of my trimming are done with these Tweezerman scissors. So as a general rule, if you're trying to go for a larger mustache style, I would recommend that you only implement the styling strategies that I just went through, as opposed to, shooting yourself in the foot by obsessively trimming, for months and months and trying to achieve a larger style. The best is to establish a framework first, which looks like usually 6 months or so, and then you trim it down. I'm going to bring up a video in a second of how I personally trim my bigger mustache, but right now I'm just going to talk about some shorter styles. If you're going to go for any of these shorter styles, I mean, you could even do weekly or even bi-daily trims. Once a week, pull down the length with, a mustache comb, blow dryer, and right along the crest of the lip, just trim all the way along. and you can trim away flyaways. You can always clean up the surrounding areas with a straight razor, or like something like this Conair trimmer that you'll see me using in some clips popping up on the screen right now. It kind of replicates a straight razor effect. Now, if you're rocking a beard with your mustache, note that the shorter it is, the more emphasized the stash will be. That's why I'm making this video at my current length. It's a bold style. It doesn't work for everybody, but it certainly highlights one of the strongest points of my facial hair development personally. And I recommend that you give it a try. Grow out a big old stash and then shave your beard down and see how it looks. I think a lot of you, in terms of maintenance, will like the change because it requires less maintenance in the beard, and mustaches overall have significantly less maintenance than beards. And a couple more things that'll make your stash really shine that you can kind of zone in on and really make your mustache stand out compared to other guys, because not a lot of people know these little ones. Well, I mean, two of them, yeah, okay. So the first two would be keeping an incredibly sharp cheek line. The other one would be keeping a really sharp neckline. But the third one's a little more unknown, and that is actually cutting back your connectors. So if you guys know what a goatee looks like, you know, you got the mustache, the lower beard area, and then you have the connectors coming down. Oftentimes, when you have a beard, you have the connectors grow and you don't even realize it. If you have a larger stash and you cut back the connectors, you can use just mustache scissors, or you could put like a 3mm guard on some classic shears, preferably like a smaller pair of shears, shaver, and you can kind of shave them back. And the benefit of this is it creates so much more pop. When you can really get in there and cut those connectors back, it separates the beard from the mustache so much better, and it creates a really prevalent style. And now, without further ado, I'll allow 2019 Kaz to take this video away and show you exactly what I do with my mustache. This is a video I recorded a couple years ago, but it's still very relevant to this date. And yes, I still had hair. I'm bald by choice, okay? You see, this is just a couple years ago. You get it? Okay. Take it away in the 2019, Kaz.
All right, let's get this show on the road. First thing you want to do is you want to style your mustache in the way you're going to style it every single day, and allow for as much time as you need for it to dry completely 100%. You want to make sure that it is not wet in any way. The first thing you have to do, so we have to create kind of like a separation between the hairs that are growing out like this and creating a full swoop, and those in the middle. Typically what I see people do is they take a huge clump of hair here and they work with that. Personally, I'm just going to find the hairs very much in the center, right? Really find where the separation place between the hairs that are doing a swoop and the hairs that are falling down, and typically the hairs that fall down in the center are also curling right into your mouth. I don't know how much you can see there, but these hairs are curling right into my mouth. All right. And essentially what you're doing is you're not going to be cutting straight across per se, but straight across and just along with the line of the lip, which is slightly more so like this. And I'm just gonna hack away at it a little bit at a time. Watch this. Getting hair in my mouth. We're starting to get a really good look already. Just kind of pull this all forward again. See what we're working with here. The top layers of the mustache, some of the hairs will come down, but like this one, for example, could easily be waxed over. So I'm just going to grab some of these, pull them over right there. So now, what we have is basically the same exact effect that we had before, but nothing's really going into the mouth. I have complete coverage over the front of the mustache. These hairs are laying completely flat down like this, and I won't have to touch these with wax whatsoever. However, all this will be waxed over. Cool. Now let's do the other side. So if you've done it right, what you kind of are going to be getting when you condole down, you're going to have full coverage on the top lip. Then you're going to kind of have like two little strands coming down like this. A little space in here. That's okay, because this is going to be, I'm going to take some product and just bring this all over. And today, I'm going to be using Parasso Mustache Wax. This is honestly one of the best mustache waxes I have ever used. We're going to wax it all up. It's got a nice smell to it too. And the hold is absolutely incredible. Watch this. See, I get that much. Twisting the mustache under like this. Get a nice swoop going on. Bring lots of it to the ends of the mustache. And add a little bit of twist at the end so we know what to take off the ends. So then we can assess where the strongest point of the mustache, ends. In my case, that's around here. All right, so that's where we're going to trim it. Make sure you kind of separate your connectors from the mustache. So there's hairs that come right off your face that look like your mustache. In my case, all this hair on this side, it's pretty easy to separate. See, that's all connector hair. As long as you know how to separate that, you should be able to get a pretty clean cut. Find the strongest point of the mustache. Don't be too particular about it. And don't keep working away at both sides of the mustache until there's nothing left. Just estimate and move on. Maybe come back to it if you're not happy with it the next day. On this side, I'm just going to follow the mustache. And strongest point ends right about there. Everything else, everything is probably not going to be able to catch up to this one hair and all of these hairs here. So, create a nice sharp bada boom. Nice sharp bada boom, as they say. Alright, there's a couple more coming up. Bada boom. Very nice. As you see, that's coming along really nicely. Kind of measure up by eye. It's right about there. Bada boom. So it is looking really, really nice so far. I'm pretty happy with what's going on. But the problem right now is that my mustache is really, really blending in with my beard. I don't like that. What I want is my mustache to pop off of my face and be separate from my beard. So what we want to do is we want to take the connectors off almost completely, except the connectors that are under here. So it's going to pop right off the face. But all this I'm going to take down to pretty much what you see here. Yeah, take the connectors and just start I like to hold the scissors like this. Just kind of take off top layers. I'm going to take them down, make them as flat as possible. Don't touch anything underneath the mustache though, because you already took care of those when you took everything to the side. Just the stuff that's hanging down like this. You see, these are connectors. These are my mustache. Alright, see where they're coming off? Coming off underneath the mustache. Look how more pronounced the mustache is on this side compared to this side. Yeah, makes a huge difference.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of the video. That's everything I can think of when it comes to mustache care. And I think it's too much. This is like watching a movie. But I hope you enjoyed my first video on the Aberlight channel. Thank you so much to all the people over at Aberlight for giving me this opportunity. If you like the video, please subscribe and please like the video. And I will be releasing videos on this channel, hopefully twice a month, and maybe even more going forward as my time progresses here. Thank you so much.